Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today we're not going to talk about a review, man. We got some late breaking news for AEW that I wanted to talk about with you guys, and all this crazy stuff that's just recently come out. So I figured I'd come on the podcast and talk to you guys about it. The news that I just received, and it is official: Ricochet, former WWE superstar Ricochet, is now signed with AEW on a multi-year deal. That is correct. Ricochet is now with AEW on a multi-year deal. Now, what does this mean? This can mean a whole hell of a lot. I mentioned this a couple weeks now, for the past couple weeks, that, Ricochet was going to be a free agent. He could show up at All In. He could show up in AEW Dynamite. He can show up wherever the hell he wants because he's a free agent. He doesn't have the non-compete clause, all that stuff. He is a free agent, and he's allowed to work wherever he so chooses. Now, it has been speculated heavily for the past few weeks since Ricochet has left WWE about him going to AEW, but nobody had any concrete answer about what was going on with Ricochet. Was he going to join AEW? Was he going to go to Impact? Was he going to go over to Japan? Nobody knew what Ricochet was going to do. Well, as of today, we finally figured out what Ricochet is going to do, and that is that he has signed with AEW on a multi-year deal. And honestly, for what it's worth, there's a very good possibility that he could possibly show up this weekend at All In. The other news that I have that's not super breaking news, but I figured as wrestling fans, you guys have a right to know if you guys haven't found out yet, is former ring commentator or commentator for NXT, Mauro Ranallo, is returning to professional wrestling. The news that I have received is that Scott D'Amore's promotion, Maple Leaf Wrestling, the new promotion that was formed by Scott D'Amore, former, I believe, GM, if you will, if you want to call him that and give him that title for TNA Impact. He was released from TNA, and now he has created his own wrestling promotion, which is Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. I believe that's the name. But anyway, Scott D'Amore used to work for TNA. Now he has a new wrestling promotion, and now it looks like he has a great acquisition to that promotion by adding none other than Mauro Ranallo. Now, if you guys don't know who Mauro Ranallo is, he was the voice behind the machine of what NXT Black and Gold was. He was the voice. He was the person that got you invested in these matches, and he sold these matches like sliced bread every single time. I remember seeing Mauro Ranallo on commentary for NXT when he was calling Gargano and Ciampa matches, Undisputed Era. He's a fantastic commentator, man, and for what it's worth, this was a big, big W for Scott D'Amore if he's actually working with Mauro Ranallo. And from what I found out, it seems like he is going to be working with Scott D'Amore and Scott D'Amore's new promotion. This is a big deal. It's great to see Mauro Ranallo back in the professional wrestling landscape. He's been gone from professional wrestling for a little bit, I believe. I think he's doing commentary currently, or was doing commentary currently, for Bellator MMA. So, and obviously Mauro Ranallo has been around the MMA scene for a very long time. I remember watching Mauro Ranallo on commentary when he used to do the backstage interviews and commentary for another MMA promotion back in the day known as Pride FC, Pride Fighting Championships, and a lot of their fights was over in Japan, and legendary fights they had over there for Pride FC, and a lot of legends that came out of Pride Fighting Championships back in the day that ended up landing into the UFC once the UFC had bought out Pride Fighting Championships. So anyway, long story short, this is a big deal. This is a huge deal for professional wrestling, and not only professional wrestling, but for Scott D'Amore and his new promotion. I don't know who signed with Scott D'Amore's promotion yet. I have no idea as far as wrestling capacity is concerned, what talent has signed with what. That I have no idea. But the information I did find out today was that it looks like Scott D'Amore has reached out to Mauro Ranallo, and Mauro Ranallo is going to be working with Scott D'Amore's new wrestling promotion, which I believe is Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, which is a big deal. It's a great acquisition by Scott D'Amore to add Mauro Ranallo. I wish Ranallo was going over to AEW because he's just great for the business. He's a great commentator. He tells a hell of a story when he does commentate for these matches, and it's a great addition by Scott D'Amore. But like I said, man, Ricochet is the reason why we are here today and why I am breaking this news to you guys today, right now. Ricochet is no longer a free agent, and he has signed, for what I understand, a multi-year deal with All Elite Wrestling. He is now going to be All Elite, and this is a very big deal. I know Will Ospreay was rumored to really be trying to bring Ricochet into AEW. Obviously, I'm assuming Ospreay and Ricochet have a great relationship. They obviously had great matches back in the day with PWG and stuff like that. So this is a great addition to AEW. And like I said, this was something that was heavily rumored for a while when it pertains to Ricochet about him possibly coming over to AEW once his tenure was done with WWE. So this is a great addition. This is a great addition for AEW. Now, do I believe it's a shot in the arm that AEW needs? No. Let's pump our brakes on that. There's going to be a lot more that AEW needs to do to get back to what they once was in the first 2-3 years of existence for AEW. But this is a great acquisition. I mean, again, the roster is very bloated. And this has to be something where the conversation has to be had about splitting the rosters, because obviously there are certain superstars that are not getting that TV time. And there's going to be more superstars that are not going to get that TV time due to more acquisitions that Tony Khan is seeking to get in free agency. The other big one is obviously Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin. I know they filed for a trademark with the Hurt Syndicate. They might also be on their way possibly to AEW, or if not TNA. I know Mustafa Ali is a current free agent right now. He might also be with AEW, or at least at All In, possibly in the Casino Gauntlet match. It's definitely a possibility. But this is a big deal. This is a huge deal for AEW and Tony Khan. Obviously, everybody's trying to figure out what's going on with the TV talks, which I mentioned earlier in my AEW Dynamite post show that I posted earlier today to you guys. If you guys haven't seen it yet, go out to the YouTube channel and check it out, or check it out on Spotify. But again, man, this is great. This is a great acquisition for AEW and Tony Khan. I know Tony Khan's going to be trying to acquire more talent. And like I told you guys, man, All In's a big deal this weekend. It's the biggest show of the year for AEW, and I feel like they're going to pull out all the stops they possibly can, and they should, to put on not only a hell of a show, but a memorable show. And to me, with the addition of Ricochet possibly being a part of AEW and signing that multi-year deal, he could be also a part of the Casino Gauntlet match this weekend at All In on Sunday. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So again, man, this is a big deal. It's a great deal, and obviously, it's a great deal for also Scott D'Amore and Mauro Ranallo coming back into pro wrestling. This might also open doors for Mauro Ranallo to possibly work with other wrestling companies. Again, it's been quite a while since we've seen Ranallo do any kind of work with any kind of professional wrestling company in quite a while. So this is a big deal, and, hats off to Scott D'Amore, man. Scott D'Amore knows what he's doing. And obviously, there's probably current TNA talent that are working there right now that are really close with Scott D'Amore that are probably looking at the possibility of joining his promotion when they're, there's certain superstars, their contracts up. I know Moose, who's a current TNA wrestler, was really close to Scott D'Amore, and Scott D'Amore was kind of hands-on with Moose. So Moose would be a great acquisition again if he decides to leave TNA and go over to Scott D'Amore's promotion with Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. So it's a big deal, man. Wrestling, I wouldn't say it's at a renaissance, but this summer is going to be crazy. And I think the kickoff to that is going to be this weekend at All In with all the stuff they got planned. A lot of great matches. Now with the acquisition of Ricochet coming over to AEW as well on a multi-year deal. AEW is going to start firing all cylinders here soon, hopefully. And like I said, man, I'm not going to sit here and put the cart before the horse. I'm not sitting here saying that, oh, man, they brought Ricochet in and now my whole mindset's changed for AEW and now they're back in my good graces and all that stuff. I'm not saying that. Let's stop the press on that. Let's pump the brakes on that. That's not what I'm saying. Is it a good acquisition from AEW to get Ricochet? Absolutely. Absolutely. His wrestling style fits perfectly with how AEW wrestlers wrestle in AEW. I mean, if you look at Will Ospreay, it's almost like a carbon copy almost. Ricochet's a high flyer. Will Ospreay's a high flyer. And if we get Ospreay versus Ricochet, I'm all for that. I think it would be a great match to see between Ricochet and Will Ospreay, and I think that's probably what's going to happen. There's a good chance that Ricochet can come out during the Ospreay MJF match. That's another way they can bring in Ricochet. This is a big deal, obviously. And not only that, Tony Khan did have conversations and talks with Shane McMahon. So, again, this could also be something that, again, Tony Khan and AEW pull out all the stops. You bring in Ricochet, you possibly bring in Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Syndicate, and you bring in Shane McMahon. This could be a big, big deal for AEW. And this might be the icing on the cake, if you will, as far as what their plans are moving forward with AEW, especially with the TV rights deal, hovering over their head, if you will. So, at this point, anything can happen, man. And, with Ricochet signing is the pure definition of that. Anything can happen. So, I'm all for it, man. I think Ricochet's going to have a hell of a career in AEW. I think he's going to have a hell of a run. Obviously, AEW is going through their talent right now, so they're going to be losing talent and bringing talent in. Like I mentioned earlier, Ricky Starks, he's on his way out to NXT, possibly, or the main roster. So, they're just adding new superstars and losing superstars at the same time, possibly. And there's probably going to be more superstars that are currently with AEW that are probably going to go over to WWE, or superstars that are going to be returning to WWE after being with AEW. So it's definitely a possibility. So, again, this is a big deal. It's a huge deal, and it's great for AEW. I think All In this weekend is going to be absolutely insane, and it should be. And like I told you guys multiple times now for the past few weeks, Tony Khan and AEW need to hit a grand slam at All In. It needs to happen. It needs to be a shock and awe. It needs to be a memorable night. And it should be, especially with the Bryan Danielson Swerve match. It should be a great, great night. A hell of a night for wrestling fans all over the world. So I'm definitely looking forward to All In. And I'm looking forward to seeing Ricochet step foot in an AEW ring. And hopefully we get to see that here relatively soon. That could actually happen this weekend at All In. But again, man, this was just me breaking some news to you guys. If you guys haven't found out yet about Ricochet, like I said, has signed, for what I understand, a multi-year deal with AEW, and it seems like Ricochet is now All Elite. So with that being said, this is my AEW breaking news, or just breaking news in general. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.